Infinite Nebula here. Like I said, we got that combo video coming up. My brother's gonna take it from here.
All right. So this will be the hand that we start with. I want to show the start with, and this would actually be considered a bad start since we're starting the combo with Centipede. If it was with Dragonfly, it's a much better combo. But I figured let's just show them, what the bare minimum looks like for this deck and like what that board ends up being. So right away, we're obviously going to do like Centipede, and of course, like Call By would probably end up getting used. So you would just equip Ladybug, unequip Ladybug. Like I had mentioned before, this start doesn't change really, and I'll try to keep the grave there. This part doesn't really change a whole lot. So what we do here is, since you can search in any Inzektor card, you're going to search the spell card. The spell card says in the name that it's always considered an Inzektor card, no matter where it is. So then we just we're going to sack our Centipede, which then grabs we're going to special summon Dragonfly directly from the deck. Then we are going to equip and unequip the Ladybug. It doesn't matter really at any point what levels you make anything. We're just using Centipede as a Centipede. We're using Ladybug as a means of having like a go first, equip, unequip type of action without having to pop cards, because Hornet obviously would be working against us. So then we bring out Centipede, we equip, unequip, and then we're going to search for Inzektor Dragonfly and add that to our hand. Because we are actually going to go into a Link 2 with these two, and that is going to yield us a Link 2 into Inzektor Armorhorn. Absolutely love this guy. So we go into Armorhorn, and then we are going to use his effect, and we're going to normal summon the Dragonfly from our hand that we just grabbed. Then we're going to do it again. We're going to equip and unequip, and we are going to special summon the last Centipede that is in the deck. So we will special summon him, and then we will once again equip and unequip the Ladybug, and then we're going to search and add Giga Mantis or Giga Weevil to our hand, and you'll see why here in a little bit, because now we are going to go into a Link 2 with Armorhorn and Centipede. It's important that you use those two. And then from those two, we're going to go into Piccolofina, our Union Carrier. Now, Piccolofina, you have to discard a card, so we'll discard that from our hand to equip a insect to our Dragonfly. And that's when we equipped Hornet to Dragonfly. Now, before we do anything else, we want to use Piccolofina's secondary effect. Piccolofina's secondary effect is we shuffle in 3 insect monsters into the deck and then draw a card. So, all 3 of those centipedes that we just went through, well, we're putting those back in the deck and we're going to shuffle and draw a card. So, that is always incredibly nice. Union Carrier de Gusto rolled into 1. Always gotta love it. And then we will just whatever card is there, imperm, cool. Then from here, we are going to we're going to equip Gigamantis to our Dragonfly. And you guys may have recognized this play from the previous video. As I said, it hasn't changed a whole lot. It's just the extra decks that we're going into. So we're going to use Hornet to pop up Gigamantis, and this creates 3 chains. So Gigamantis special summons a Dragonfly from our grave. And then from there, we trigger this Dragonfly's special summon effect 2 times. So then we special summon 2 of the centipedes that we threw back into the deck. So of course we got to grab out more centipedes. Having a blast. So now we're going to use one of the centipedes. And We're going to equip that with Inzektor Ladybug, and then we're going to unequip, and then we're going to search. And at this point, you'll want to search the other bigger Inzektor, which is going to be Giga Weevil. Same effect as Mantis when it comes to the graveyard specialing. So we will add that to our hand. And then this is when we go into a Link 4 using the Dragonfly we used, using the Centipede we used with the Pickled Athena. That way we can move on into the next phase, which is our chain coils. And as you probably can tell, there's just a lot of plays. So there's quite a few things that we want to do, but we kind of got to get to that. So then, of course, we want to equip Giga Weevil to our Dragonfly. And then once again, we are actually going to go into Hornet at this point. And then we're going to use Hornet to pop up the Giga Weevil. Y'all know what happens. We just special summon the Dragonfly that we have engraved. And then we special summon the last Centipede that's in the deck, along with... we'll just do, for the sake of this, we'll just do Hornet. So then what we do is I use the Hornet and the Dragonfly that we did use for this. And we go into a Link 2. So by using those two, we go into the Link 2 Reika. Like I said, this is the one that likes to special summon Reikas from the grave. But you'll see here in a little bit on how exactly this works. So we do have a Centipede to use. So we have 2 Centipedes to use. So we will use Inzektor Ladybug here to search off of the Centipede that we haven't used. And that's going to add to our hands. At this point, you can search whatever you want. I'm just going to grab a Ladybug to my hand because I'm likely just going to discard it off the spell to search. So then we are going to use an effect of Armorhorn Engrave. Hopefully no one forgot about that guy. So then what you do here is Armorhorn's going to banish 3 insect monsters. So we're going to banish one of our Hornets, we're going to banish a Giga Weevil, and we're going to banish a Mantis. Because at this point, these 3 guys have done what they need to do for us. We no longer need them. So we're going to banish those 3 so we can special summon Armorhorn from our grave. And then we're actually just going to use Armorhorn to go right into a Link 3 by using those 2. The 1 Centipede that we used, and that's going to bust out our Mantis Monk. So that's going to pull out that guy for us. Now keep in mind, this Dragonfly is still alive, but we got some things that we want to do first. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to use these 2 to go into a Link 5, because it's Link 2, Link 3. And then this is going to give us, you guessed it, the Link 5 Reika. So we get him onto the board. Then we're going to use the effect of the Link 2 Engrave. As I mentioned before, we do a lot of bouncing in this deck, so we get to use this Centipede. We're going to throw this to the bottom of the deck. We're going to say, be gone, so we can special summon that guy back from the grave. Now, what this thing does is, as I mentioned, it special summons a Reika from grave. Oh, once you look at it, we have a Link 3 just sitting there in the grave for us. Isn't that nice and convenient for us? Oh, and you know what? We actually have a target now even for our boy, Dragonfly. Like, that's great. So we can do that at this point, but I kind of recommend going a little bit different here. We're just going to use the continuous spell here of the Bloom. Bloom, we search for a Reika. So we're going to grab this beetle. Samurai Beetle. Add that to our hand. So then what we do is we're actually going to use Mantis Monk here, and we're going to use him to banish a 2 insect monsters. So what we want to do is we're actually going to banish 2 centipedes to use his effect to search for the Reika trap card. Once I find it, there it is, Reika. So we grab Reika right there. Now what we do is we use his effect from hand to special summon. By special summoning him, you have to put this to the bottom of the deck. So we get to refill the deck with yet another Centipede. Feeling good. Now, what I would probably do at this point is I would go into... Man, there's a couple ways you go about this. We can go straight into basically whomever we want. Yeah, so I'd probably just use these two. I mean, these three, to be honest. So I'd use these three. And then we would go into... Oh. Cosmic Tree. Cosmic Tree needs 3 effect monsters. So those are our 3 effect monsters. Feeling good. So then what we love to do at this point is we still have a Dragonfly to use. So Dragonfly wants to equip and unequip. And we special summon Centipede. Now, funny enough, some of you may be a little confused as to how like this Reika stuff, how it loves to interact, and it's really cool. I've been having a lot of fun with it, and I know it's gonna be really funny, but like I said, this is where it starts to get to the point like why I mentioned like this is technically bad hand, because then you don't have as much resources. Because then you kind of have to do some wonky things, but it gets to a good result, so it's fine. So what we like to do is at this point, since we got Centipede, we're actually going to use Hornet. There's a reason why we need Hornet. Because this spell gives all your monsters plus 300 attack and defense. And this is actually a bad thing. If we're going into Atlas, we don't want this effect. Because if Atlas exceeds 3,000 attack, he no longer has his cannot be targeted or destroyed effect. So we need Hornet to pop this for us. So our Atlas isn't vulnerable. So when we do that, then you just search for whatever Inzektor card. And like I said, at this point, I like to just, you can grab whatever. But I will just say we'll grab Inzektor Ladybug.
So that way on the following turn, if you need to, you can reset.
Well, it's nice having insects in hands for the next play here. So you may be asking, like, okay, how in the heck are we getting to Atlas? Well, Mantis Monk didn't use his own effect to bring him back. It was the Link 2. So then we're just going to use Mantis Monk to throw the Centipede back to the deck to special summon him back. Pretty simple. Pretty easy, pretty neat. So then what we do is we actually are just going to use these two into a Link 4. And that's going to bring us Atlas. And this is the board that I was mentioning that we would eventually make it to. But you're like, wait a minute, how are we going to use Atlas's effect? Well, I'm so glad the audience asked, because we're actually just going to attribute this Link 5 to special summon what we want, which is going to be this guy. This guy's effect triggers. And then we're going to add a spell trap card of our own to our hand. Now, at this point, there's no point in going into the spell for this play. You only really need to go into this for specifically other things. So this is why it's so fun with Reika and Inzektorz. So instead of grabbing the trap, right? We're just gonna, instead of grabbing the spell, we're gonna grab the trap right off the bat. We're not even going into the fusion. You go into the fusion when you have different hands. I'm showing you this, like I said, this is technically the worst hand. So that's when we just go like, all right, we're gonna add the counter trap to our hand. And you're like, what the heck, man? You attributed your Link 5, what are you doing? Well, we're just gonna use his effect from grave. We're gonna throw that guy back to the deck and we're gonna bring him back. So It's really cool to do it that way because you're putting that resource to search back into your deck for Atlas to use that again. Because then your follow-up is going to be the 4K for your next turn. Having a 4K unaffected on like speed dial is nice. So, like I said, this is the worst hand, but even in our worst hand, this is our board. So what that ends up being is we get our little Bee Trooper Flying Sting in the back. We all, like I said, we always are going to have these two cards, and this is, we have a reptile, we have a plant, and we have insects. So this is going to destroy 3 cards on the board. Obviously, that's going to be very, very interruptive. And then, of course, we had the 1 card draw that we drew into, which was Imperm off of Piccolafina. So even with a bad hand, this is the board. Like I said, if you started with Dragonfly, these 2 slots are full. And those 2 slots can be full of, it could be Hercules. Well, instead of the 2 slots, it can be Hercules. Or that slot would be like Cicada King, or it would be the Fusion sitting there. It can be a plethora of things. I just wanted to show you guys what the bare minimum looked like. And it's this. It's really fun, really cool. It's funny that like you're constantly sacking things that, at surface level seem like, oh, that's not the optimal play, but it actually is the optimal play to continuously throw stuff back into your deck for resources for you to keep pulling out, later on in the game. So I absolutely love the Reika stuff. And it doesn't restrict the archetype at all. And like I said, that whole thing was only possible because he's an insect, and that doesn't interfere with Atlas's effect. So it's just really cool that all these things, like, you can find a way to make them all work together. So yeah, that's the combo. This is basically the board that we can end up with, even on a bad hand. Like I said, the preferred hand is like having some start with Dragonfly as you oppose Centipede. But it is, I just want to show that it is doable. So, there it is.
Well, everyone, I hope that you enjoyed this video being 17 minutes and 25 seconds and got the whole combo. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask, comment down below, and let us know how you do at your locals, because we do pretty dang good. This is pretty awesome. And Infinite Nebula, we out. Take care.